Marvel vs. DC has always been a major debate amongst the fans, and it's something that has occupied a significant amount of literature and conversation in both worlds. Over the years, we've witnessed that both worlds have characters that give us further insight into how both these worlds work. Now, even though there isn't an ideal representation of godlike beings in these comic book worlds, there are beings who are given the status of the creators and other such titles. Marvel and DC have some serious mysteries about the characters of the Presence and the One Above All, and both have played major roles that make us wonder about the extent of their powers, amongst other things. Let's look at both of these individuals and also examine the idea of the Presence and the One Above All being pitted against each other in their operations. So get ready to glance over the craziest aspects of the Marvel and DC universe. But before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. The Presence. Just a man with a bowler hat. The DC comic book world has an amazing range of characters, from street crime-fighting vigilantes to cosmic entities with unimaginable power. It's due credit to the amazing set of writers and artists who have created such amazing characters that have always set the bar high in the DC universe. Consider Superman, the first name that comes to mind when we hear DC. It's either him or Batman. Superman is someone who has always gone beyond the set level of powers in the DC universe. The dude is so good that they failed to make a solo game for him. It would be like One Punch Man. But then we have the likes of Lucifer, Morningstar, Sandman, and other beings who are supposed to frame the reality where our regular characters exist. These characters might have framed reality to a certain level, but there's someone beyond all this, beyond the beings involved in the DC Universe's everyday events. The Presence is an entity that is the creator, someone who exits beyond the world's set realities and can be considered the counterpart of God. He has sometimes been associated with various Christian attributes, so the people who created this guy must have been God. He has been known by several names: the Voice, the Hand, the Source, the Lord, the Most High, Jehovah, the Light, and last but not least, the Name. Over the years, this character has appeared in numerous forms, most of them in a form that indicates he is beyond the normal behavior of things in the universe. So back when there was nothing, there was the Great Darkness. Not equivalent to an empty slate, but something that meant that there was a single black infinitude. Soon, a light was born inside it, and as the light grew, the darkness lashed out, and with this, the cosmos was born. Even though he might appear to have a lot of authority, some moments indicate that he isn't authoritarian. Instead, he allows for the natural way of things and for people to shape their destinies based on their choices. His not being involved in this process demonstrates his clear respect for autonomy, further highlighting the clear division between the divine order and the personal freedom given to an individual. One of the biggest examples of a situation like this could be indicated by his relationship with Lucifer Morningstar, who eventually rebelled against the Presence but didn't get cast aside because of the concept of free will that his superior being supports. DC has managed to keep this character a mystery because of his appearance as someone who doesn't take a particular form or make a massive appearance in the comics. Even if he does make an appearance, it's only issues of Lucifer or the Sandman comics, and even there, he appears as a mysterious figure without much insight into the individual as someone amid a world full of characters. One of his coolest appearances was in the issue of Lucifer, issue number 68 from 2000, where he summons the angel half-angel Elaine Belloc to save creation at a time when the throne of God is shattered. The Presence appears as a completely ordinary individual with a bowler hat and thick mustache. Never let them know the full potential of a being who goes beyond every other superhero, and that's when you're intrigued by the mysterious individual who becomes a god. The One Above All, Jack Kirby? Even though DC has quite an interesting collection of superheroes inspired by various religions, Marvel doesn't stray far in that category. Thor and other Norse gods appear as regular characters in the comics, and then there are Zeus and other figures who go beyond the concept of reality in the Marvel Universe. The recent What If series also indicated the power of those beings and their purpose being very much in league with something a godlike figure would be doing. Weaving the threads of mythology, religion, and cosmic cosmic abstraction into the vast cosmology of Marvel has always been a key part of its storytelling. But even though these figures have already become prominent in the Marvel Universe, there have been times when the One Above All has stood out as respectfully the counterpart to God in the comics. The One Above All indicates a figure who exhibits the essence of omnipotence, omniscience, omnipresence, and every other Omni word. Let's just call this supreme individual as TOAA. Now, the TOAA has only had some appearances in the comic books, but each appearance has had some significant development in the story of the comic books. His presence is undeniable based on these limited appearances, clarifying that the god hasn't needed to tend to things much. Various godlike figures tend to be a part of some of the vast multiverse's particular avenues or domains, but TOAA oversees the entire creation of this vast universe. However, one of the most interesting interpretations or takes in the Marvel Universe is the idea that this being, the creator of all things in the Marvel Universe, represents the various individuals who are the artists and creators working on the comics. It's a remarkable way to indicate this presence. It acts as a remarkable touch to that concept while ensuring that a singular figure can embody the act of creation and the infinite possibilities in the stories from the Marvel Universe. Like most godlike beings, TOAA doesn't impose its will on beings and continues to allow free will to take its chance in the universe's fate. Often, he would appear to be acting as someone who provides a bit of guidance. At the same time, most other appearances are hyped up by other characters whom we would consider to be the ones that are the very epitome of the creation of the Marvel Universe. It's crazy to imagine a figure with so much power and authority in a universe riddled with the craziest beings. Yet it surely provides insight into the perfect means of storytelling. One of the coolest representations of the One Above All happened in the issues of the Fantastic Four comics, an appearance that's very much in league with the representation that's an allegory for the various artists involved in building the Marvel Universe. In 2004's Fantastic Four issue 511, in their quest to bring Ben back from heaven, the family goes to the edge of heaven, where they encounter an ordinary-looking individual, a humble figure in the form of Jack Kirby himself, the creator of Fantastic Four. There have been past moments where Jack Kirby has appeared in comic books, but this moment appears to be a lot more wholesome, as Kirby's character, who is the god himself, talks to Reed and consoles him at a time when Reed was still reeling from the death of his son. This representation, later revealed as the One Above All, stands out in the way that this figure appears in front of others as he manages to become someone with whom the Fantastic Four can have a chat. During the ongoing Marvel Cinematic Universe projects, when Stan Lee used to make an appearance, there were a lot of fans who assumed that he was the One Above All, and that's why he appeared different in each of his appearances. One of his appearances in comic books as someone who consoles Peter Parker after he loses Aunt May is somewhat similar to the many appearances that Stan Lee has made in the movies. The presence versus the One Above All. Marvel and DC have been rivals in the comic book world for quite a while now, and the very idea of pitting these characters against each other serves a good amount of fan following. Marvel's known for its relatable grounder characters, ranging from the likes of Spider-Man to the X-Men, a group of heroes who strike out from society. At the same time, DC has given us some larger-than-life characters in the form of people who stand out in the world of superheroes as a whole. DC has always gravitated towards the idea of what makes a hero and how to justify the presence of such a being. In contrast, Marvel has always carried forward the idea of the superhero being an ever-present theme. The various Marvel versus DC debates have even served as major fodder for the creative minds behind both teams, giving us major crossover events that have always gone beyond pitting the characters from both worlds against each other. So the idea of hypothetical battles between the League of Heroes and Villains from both worlds has always sparked some major conclusions about which world is better to work on. Ever since the idea of the omnipotent beings from both these worlds came into being, there have been debates on how these two individuals would do in a one-on-one battle against each other. Based on the description we've provided, it's quite clear that both of these beings are somewhat similar in their roles in their universe and how much they're involved in the natural order of things in their universe. Both are hardly ever shown in comic books. Still, even those tiny appearances allow us to understand that they form the very fabric of the reality in which the other colorful characters exist. However, they contradict each other in their interactions with the beings from their worlds. While the Presence takes a hands-off approach and completely allows the idea of free reign, the One Above All promotes it, but ultimately guides the character towards a certain idea. So the only debate about how these characters approach each other comes from how they intervene in their creation. In an amalgamated universe, it would be difficult to imagine two such characters coexisting, considering both serve a common purpose and act as the very idea of creating their universes. But the idea of them battling each other out is quite different to comprehend, considering they've never shown the complete reality of their powers in the universe. Thus, it might be like none of them managed to outdo each other. A conclusion is hard to imagine, but the idea that they will strive towards a conclusion does sound exciting, since they'll push for how they remain in their universe instead of opting for the other. They both have interesting heralds, with Hulk being from Marvel and Swamp Thing from DC being his ideal opponent. Now, since they both represent the idea of every aspect of the pain and other emotional traumas that led to the creation of the characters in their universe, the beings created from these elements play a consequential role in the universe itself. Similarly, many other beings could be pitted against each other as the heralds from both of these universes, and over the years, it's been quite clear that there are manners in which these individuals operate. However, the debate and this one-on-one could be even more in terms of how these two omnipotent individuals represent the various elements of how they are both representations of the creative minds behind the creation of the two worlds. There was a time when Marvel had agreed that Flash was the fastest man alive. In fact, he managed to make a sneaky appearance and defeat almost every character in the Marvel Universe. So it's interesting to see that approach, considering that there was a time when DC and Marvel had an interesting bond. Still, this bond disappeared over time, with both competing as different franchises. At the end of the day, I would love to imagine the DC characters being pitted against the Marvel beings, while Jack Kirby, aka the One Above All, and the man with the bowler hat, aka the Presence, duel it out in a game of chess, chatting about their favorite creations and other major events. Marvelous verdict. It won't be surprising to see how the underdeveloped DC Cinematic Universe world would go once pitted against the ever-growing Marvel Cinematic Universe. Since we've already had the likes of characters who have broken the fourth wall, it won't be surprising to see these omnipotent beings coming up and doing some similar work. However, it must follow a major event, not as a side story that will completely ruin how these characters work. In fact, it's better that these two beings are limited to comic books only, considering they act as the perfect tribute to all the minds behind these comic books. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks, everyone.